General Motors having a lot of trouble moving its electric Chevy Volt, and now leery car shoppers have one more reason not to buy it. The government is investigating the Volt's electric battery after a test vehicle caught fire. This is not going to help the Volt's awful sales figures. And since GM has made such a big bet on the car with taxpayer money, is this everyone's problem? Let's ask our power players. We've got Lenore Hawkins, Gary B. Smith, and Nancy Skinner. Gary B., first to you.
Well, I hope it's not everyone's problem. The problem is, David, the Treasury Department came out last week and now said the loss to the taxpayer on the loan to General Motors is not $14.3 billion, which was the estimate, but now over $23 billion. So my question back to GM, did the government rush or force GM to rush the Volt out in production? It sure seems like that, and it seems like, per your point, the taxpayer is going to have to pick up the dime.
That's
again.
right. And Nancy, have you seen GM stock recently? It's going way. It's no time to be backing a loser.
Have you seen a lot of company stocks? David, look, they tested this vehicle for 1 million test hours. It's Car of the Year by several magazines. And unlike Toyota, who denied that there was even a problem while people had no brakes and were crashing, General Motors has gone to extreme circumstances to give people loaner vehicles. They are now looking exactly, it's the component, it's not the battery itself. And this is industry-wide. It's a lithium-ion battery issue.
It's just another reason why people aren't buying electric.
You know what? It's the only way we're going to move. That's the future.
People
and you know what? People that buy these cars love these cars.
You're not going to force people to buy anything, Lenore. By the way, this is what GM is saying about all this, and I'm quoting from one of their statements. The Volt is as safe as conventional vehicles for its occupants before, during, and immediately after a crash. When electrical energy is left in a battery after a severe crash, it can be similar to leaving gas in a leaking fuel tank after severe damage. Are you buying that?
Well, to put it in context, your traditional 12-volt lead-acid cell battery causes a lot of problems, and those are the batteries that are in every car and truck on the road. But to say that people love the Volt, they've only sold about 5,300 of them. Right. How often does a car company come out with such an enormous flop? Yeah. And I hate to say it, but it sure sounds like the fact that they had essentially a lot of free money coming from the taxpayers may have had something to do with it. And it is a little worrisome to have that conflict of interest where the government owns this company and has a conflict of interest with overseeing the safety of the
green
vehicles.
Agenda. Yeah, they want to push the green agenda, and they're trying to push it by selling cars that people don't want to buy. Gary B., the fact is that they have to sell 10,000 of these cars a month, and they've been selling less than 1,000 just about every month. Some months it's like 300.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, and Nancy kind of summed up the point when she said, oh, we have to get there. We might have to get there or we might not, but it doesn't matter. It should be up to private industry to meet the needs of the consumer. Look, if the consumer just says, look, I want to pay $100 a gallon for gas, and they should be supplying gasoline cars. Now they were pushed into the Volt, which isn't selling, and every time they don't sell one of these and make it and go through one of these fiascos, David, it's the taxpayer on the hook,
Nancy,
not so with private companies.
I'm going to start the next segment with you because we have totally run out of time, but I'm going to start the next one with you. Celebrations in the malls, a record-breaking Black Friday weekend, but will it last until Christmas? We'll find out when Power and Money continues. And the good times continue. Retailers rolling in the green on Black Friday this weekend, with the National Retail Federation saying shoppers spent $52.4 billion. This is up 16% over last year. And today, Cyber Monday, analysts are predicting another record shopping day. But is it all just a flash in the pan? Let's bring back our power players. Nancy, are the good times going to last?
You know what, despite all the gloom and doom talk, because all the GOP candidates want to talk about how terrible the economy is, it has been slowly improving, David. As you know, record earnings, companies are flush with cash, people have pent-up consumer spending, and they went out, they proved that they're ready to do this. The worst thing that can happen, though, is this continually talking down of the economy, because they want to know there's a plan. The president had a jobs plan on the table, and no one has worked with him. That is what is going to kill our economy, but consumers are spending it again.
You brought it back to politics, Lenore. I would add, by the way, that he didn't do much to work out a debt deal in Washington. He stayed totally out of the picture. But will this shopping, Lenore, continue?
Well, the economy isn't doing well because I don't really focus on spending so much. That's what got us into this trouble in the first place. I'm looking at household income, and household income contracted in the second quarter, and it contracted again in the third quarter. So when income going down, spending, where's that going to come from? Well, it'll only come from a cut in savings. That's what we saw in Q3. That's not going to be long-term good for the economy. On top of that, you have households having to reduce their debt levels. We went from a long-term average of 65% household debt to income, rode all the way up to 135. Now we're down to 120, but we still need to contract even more. None of that looks good for a growing economy.
On the other hand, Gary B., these figures look pretty good for Black Friday, don't they?
They do overall, and you know, just as a side note, I was not aware the current economy is now like Mitt Romney's fault, according to Nancy. But okay, we'll go with that. Back to your point, not only were obviously the retail sales figures you pointed out good, but consumer spending overall in the third quarter is up over 2%, which is the strongest that we've had in 2011. Lenore does make a good point. Where is the spending coming from? You have to be worried that, look, well, the whole reason we all got in this mess is because, you know, everyone wanted to take on a lot of debt. If that's the case again, we might be in for one of those vicious backlashes come next year.
Yeah, and Gary,
no way, Gary. Don't blame the
reduction
American
savings.
people for this meltdown. It was Wall Street and the banks that did it. Don't blame the average
We gotta
American.
leave it at that. That's a whole other segment. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be another huge day on Power and Money tomorrow. We're going to be talking to Donald Trump about the economy, Occupy Wall Street 2012. Is he going to run? We'll ask him again. We'll see you tomorrow.